Hello everyone, and welcome back to our Out and About Pips cast. Today we're spending some time with Mandy, and Mandy has what a lot of people would call a very alternative lifestyle. So I'd like to say hello and thank you for doing this.
It's all right, my pleasure.
Would you just like to start by introducing yourself, however you feel that needs to go?
Okay, my name's Mandy. I'm 52 years old. I moved out here 3 years ago in the middle of the pandemic because I was living in a studio flat in London and it was horrible. I had one window that looked out onto a brick wall.
Oh, very nice.
And it was, the more lockdown continued, the worse I was feeling.
Yes.
So I decided that it was time that if this was going to continue for a long time, which it did, I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I wanted to be somewhere where I had some land and I could grow some food, keep my animals, and not be as stressed as I was in London.
Yeah.
So I sold everything, took out a loan, and packed everybody in the car and drove over as soon as the borders opened.
Wow. So who was everybody?
I came over with my little dog Dory, one of my cats Luna, and the two ponies that I had at that time, which was Baby and Rosie.
Right.
So they went in the trailer, and the cat and the dog went in the car, and I loaded the car up to the gunnels, loaded the trailer up to the gunnels.
Yeah.
And then we just drove all the way over. It took 4 days, but we got here.
Yeah. So how long have you had your ponies? Because everybody has a cat and a dog, or a bird.
The two ponies I'd only had for 6 months in the UK because I'd not had horses for quite a while, about 4 years, because I used to breed Arabs.
Right.
My stallion, I put him out on loan to someone, and because I wasn't very well at the time, and while he was out on loan they sold him.
Wow.
And then when I finally tracked him down, I found out that she'd sold him to a home where he was doing jumping, which he wasn't allowed to do because he had an injury to his hock,
Right.
to his back leg, and before I got a chance to see him he had to be put to sleep.
Oh,
because
grief.
they'd been jumping him and his leg
Everything had got worse.
went badly wrong and he couldn't walk on it, and she couldn't afford the surgery, and because the surgery was £12,000 and she couldn't afford that, I couldn't afford that. But before I even got a chance to see him, because unfortunately at that time I had a I had a mental breakdown at that time, and in the 2 weeks that I'd walked out on everything and then finally went back online and got the email, it was the day she'd emailed me a week before, but I only got it on the day that he was actually put to sleep.
Right.
So I never actually got a chance to see him again. So I kind of didn't have anything to do with horses for a few years.
Uh-huh.
And then rescued Baby first, and then got Rosie to keep her company. And it was about 4 or 5 months after that I got them two that COVID hit.
Yeah, just a wonderful time. Yes.
So yes, it's been interesting.
Wow. So a big sort of twist and a big sort of shake to make.
Because I was still getting over the mental breakdown I'd had, because I'd been working 7 days a week, 2 jobs, 14 to 18 hour days, just to pay rent, pay bills, and try and feed myself. And I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Just got to the stage where I couldn't do it anymore, and I just basically walked out, took the dog, walked out and left.
Yeah.
And then it took me a good few months to sort of start getting my head together. That's when I found Luna, Luna was this scrappy of a little kitten. I'd bought a boat. I was living on a boat at that stage, and I'd found Luna hiding in the bushes with her mother, who was not alive anymore.
Aww.
So I took Luna in, and then so it was just dog and a cat, and then was moving around a little bit, and then decided to move back towards near Essex to be near the family again, and found this flat in South London which would allow the dog and the cat, because nobody was allowing dogs and cats. So it was the only place I could find. But it was a nice enough flat. It wasn't too bad, but as I say, when lockdown hit, I realised I couldn't do this anymore.
Yeah, it was very isolating for so many people, even if you weren't living on your own.
Yeah, the isolation wasn't the hard part, because I'm quite happy being on my own. I enjoy being on my own, and it only being me that I have to worry about. But it was the struggle to get food. You go to the shops, you'd be 3 hours in the queue trying to get in there, and then you'd get in there and there'd be nothing.
Right.
And not earning anything at that time, because everywhere closed down. At that stage I was doing proofreading for publishers, but they basically closed their offices, and so I had no work coming in. So I had no money. I had furlough, but that was only 80%, and I was self-employed. So I only got a base salary.
Right.
I didn't get anywhere
all of the extra
near
hours that you'd been
what
working.
I would have got from what I was earning at the time. So, I mean, my salary went down from £1,500 a month to £400, and my rent was £900.
Yeah.
So I had to go to the council, get a council benefit, housing benefit, which was an absolute nightmare. And I was basically bored, which is not good for me. I do not do well when I get bored. And I was not having enough money coming in to pay the rent and pay the bills and food for me. I was lucky that the person I was renting my field off of, because of COVID, he told me he didn't want any rent.
That was kind, yeah.
The ponies were out on grass at the time. There was lots of grass, so they didn't need any food. So he checked them for me every morning, so that I only had to do one trip over because of the fuel. There was fuel problems as well, because there wasn't much fuel anywhere. And so I was basically going to food banks because there wasn't enough money. And I thought, I can't do this. And I'd been over here 12 years before for 6 months with the children when they were younger, with the plan of living out here then, but that didn't work out then. And I thought, this is the only place I knew I would be able to afford to buy a piece of land.
Yeah.
And I would be able to live here off the grid, like with minimal bills, so just phone and internet and car. And I thought, I've got to do it. I've got to do it now. Brexit's happening. If I wait until after Brexit, I won't get in.
Yeah.
So I literally sold absolutely everything in my flat. I sold all of the things that I could get rid of. I bought the things I thought I would need. And fortunately, a couple of people I'd loaned money to strangely paid me back, which I'd been waiting for it for 4 or 5 years, so it was quite a surprise. I praise the universe for that.
Yeah, a bit of karma coming around.
It was just a kind of, I made this decision that I'd had enough and I was going, and nothing was going to stop me, and basically everything fell into place.
Wonderful.
Just so fast, literally within weeks.
That you needed it to when it did.
You know, I applied for a small loan. I've never been approved for a loan in my life, and it was approved instantly, and I was like, okay, and the money was in my account in an hour.
Wow.
I was like, okay then, I'm going. So I bought a trailer, swapped my car for a 4x4, and then basically got the passports for the dog and the cat, sorted everything out with DEFRA for the ponies, which was easy then, and sorted out an overnight stop in France and an overnight stop in Spain and somewhere to land when we got here, and that was it. We just, as soon as the borders opened, we were off.
Arrived
on the ferry over there.
Yeah. So you were like us. You got here before Brexit.
Yes.
You missed all the D7 kerfuffle.
Yep.
That goes on. Brilliant.
Yeah. So I got my residency a month after I moved onto my land that I had before.
Yeah.
And this December, it was just recently. I recently got the residency card,
Yes.
which has given me an extra 5 years. So.
Mhm.
And you know, it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it if I'd tried to do it now.
Yes.
I would have got the visa, but at the time I would have got the visa. I wouldn't got it now because I don't earn enough money now, but
Yeah.
I would have got it then. But it would have been too much stress.
Yeah.
And I don't do stress. I do not work very well. I don't work very well under stress anymore. I've done 50 odd years of stress.
Yes, it's enough, isn't it?
Absolutely. I really don't want any more stress. So the least amount of interaction I can do that is stress related, the better.
Good.
So that's one of the reasons why I moved from there to here.
Yeah. You've got a beautiful piece of land.
It is beautiful.
There's quite a track. We don't want to say where Mandy lives because we would never divulge where anybody that we chat to is, because we all come here for a reason, and majority of that is for some peace and quiet. Yes. But we might just film just the very bit as we go back. It's interesting, a little bit hair-raising.
It's a 2.5 kilometre drive from the road to where I live.
Yeah. Darren and I both were going, oh yeah, this is fine. Oh my goodness, how do you do that when it's rained for 6 weeks?
With great difficulty.
Yeah. Oh, good grief. Right, let me put my glasses on so I can actually read these questions. Okay, so you've been here for just over 3 years?
3 years next month.
All right, so coming up.
Yeah, 3 years on the 9th of July.
So basically it was for your own well-being that you've come here and changed your whole way of living.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to working 2 jobs, 18-hour days, 7 days a week, just to pay rent and bills and not have a life.
Yeah.
I wanted the one thing that you can't get any more of, which is time.
Time, absolutely, yeah.
You can't buy more of it. You can't get more of it. You only have the same amount every day that everybody else has, and I wanted to have more of it for what I wanted to do, rather than working for somebody else to earn money, to pay for things I didn't actually need or want.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I realised all I basically need is a simple house. I don't need fancy gadgets and machinery, and I'd much rather have time than have money.
Yeah, and do what you want with that time, which is exactly what we're sort of striving and looking and are achieving now, I suppose. Yeah, we've done the same thing. We both worked, we brought up our kids, we even then made the decision to work. One will work daytimes, one will work night times. We wouldn't, but they would always be sort of taken care of, and now we're having our time.
That's what I did with my husband. My husband worked shifts, and I couldn't get a job that would give me the working days that he had off.
Yeah.
So I went self-employed.
Right.
And I did computers and I did horse transport, and so I could move it around, make it work.
Yeah.
And if the kids were off on half term, I could work with them.
Yeah.
You know, if they weren't at school, I didn't have to worry about finding someone to look after the children. And you know, we had to work.
Yeah.
We had no choice.
Absolutely.
You know, we needed 2 incomes. We had 6 children. We couldn't afford to sort of not work.
Yeah. So you touched on briefly when you were talking about living here previously, and you'd tried Portugal out. Was there any other reason that you chose Portugal over anywhere else? Because a lot of people that we've talked to have looked way off, like you know, other continents. But
I don't know why, but for a very, very long time, probably 20, nearly 30 years, I've had this feeling that I was meant to live here.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never been to Portugal before. And then found somewhere when my children were younger, and we came over here for 6 months to see what it was like. I loved it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'd had to leave my 2 youngest children with their dad because my car wasn't big enough to fit all of the children in the car to drive over. And he came over for Christmas, and the children realised they'd missed the UK. They were young at the time. They were still wanting PlayStations and stuff, and they loved having the freedom of running around the farm and all of that, but they missed their friends. They missed their nanny, their granddad. My mum had died before them, but they missed their granddad, they missed their friends, they missed everybody else, you know. So I made the decision after talking with them that we would go back. And ever since then, every so many months or so, something about Portugal has popped up in my life in some way, shape or form, be that speaking to someone who's Portuguese and in England, or something coming up on Facebook, or it just kept popping into my life, and I kept saying no.
Yeah, but it was just drawing you back. All the little strings were just drawing you back.
And eventually it got to the stage where lockdown hit, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Yep, I'll take that lifeline now.
I'll take it now.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, that's wonderful.
And obviously Brexit, so I thought, right, okay, now's the time. If I'm going to go, I've got to go now.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. So I think looking around, I can't quite see, you've got sort of all of your buildings and what have you, and you were, when we arrived, you were giving us an idea about how you got permission to stay on the land.
Basically, when I saw the plot, I knew that a lot of the councils in this area, so Castelo Branco, Santarém districts, would allow temporary buildings, but you need to speak to them to find out if that's definitely going to be permitted. So I went to the local camera and explained to them that I was interested in buying this plot of land, but I wanted to be able to live on it. And the first thing she asked me was, do you have any animals? So I explained to her that at that particular time I had 3 ponies, I had 5 goats, the chickens, and then she asked me if I bred them. And obviously that was part of the plan, was to be able to raise animals to sell, to bring in some income, to pay for things I couldn't grow here. And so she said that yes, in that consideration they can give me an agricultural occupancy permit, which would allow me to live here all year round, because I need to be here for the safety of the animals and for breeding purposes, so for births and what have you. And they just explained to me that I could not have a habitation licence because as a fact of where I am, and I can't get main services here, and also for the fact that it's part rustic, part agricultural. I have got one of my terraces is actually marked as agricultural land, but the rest is all rustic land, and they wouldn't change it to urban because it's not close enough to the village. Which I was fine about, didn't bother me, and
so is that purely from like a, I don't know, is it from like a resale point of view they couldn't do that because they're saying you Mandy, you are the person that is here being the custodian of the land, but you're not going to be able to pass it on or sell it on or that kind of thing?
If I want to sell the land,
it would still just all be rustic.
It would still be all rustic land, and that person would have to convince the camera and the main council offices in Santarém that they were breeding animals and needed to be able to stay here.
So it's on an individual.
So it's on an individual basis.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So I'd say I had to take that agreement and take it to the main council offices in Santarem and get it stamped by them and approved by them as well. And once they'd done that, I now know they gave me an address. So I have a post box at the top.
Yep.
And I now know that I am safe and I can stay here. There's only one reason why they would go back on that, and that would be if there was a lot of complaints about me from neighbours.
Yeah.
But obviously I have no neighbours. So that's not a problem.
So they're not going to complain.
No.
No. And I think if you live in harmony and you're not, I don't know, you haven't got loads of rubbish, you're looking after the land, literally, you're being a custodian for the time that you're here, aren't you?
What she said to me at the camera was, because the lady I spoke to here actually spoke English, and basically what she said to me is, we want people to actually work the land.
Yeah.
We don't want it being overgrown and a fire hazard.
Left. Yeah.
If it's left and it's not dealt with, it's a fire hazard.
Absolutely.
If we can get people on there and living on there and working in the land and having animals on there and grazing and what have you, then that's beneficial to us.
Yeah.
And, we will help people as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, different areas have different rules.
Yes.
I know people in the north of Portugal who can't get the same sort of permission I've got.
Yeah. But I think in central Portugal, there has been that mass exodus, hasn't there? And so anybody coming in who is wanting to help keep the land clear, or even like us, we've got a village house helping to keep the areas around the village clear, then that's all to the good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're coming here with the right motives and you're not going to build a monstrosity, and you're not going to.
You didn't want a 4-bedroom mansion with a swimming pool.
Yeah, as long as you're not going to sort of, start disagreeing with the locals and complaining about the locals and moaning about the dogs barking,
having a rave every other weekend.
And loud music and stuff like that, then you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You've got to accept the fact that you're coming into a different culture.
Yep.
And you might not like the way they do things, but it's how they do things. It's
their way of doing things. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I try to, because I've had not arguments but disagreements with various people in the past where they're like, I don't like the way they keep their dog on a chain. Well, I don't like dogs being on a chain, but sometimes you have to put a dog on a chain if you have no fences and they're worrying sheep.
Yeah.
It's either they go on the chain and then you take them for walks, or they get shot.
Yeah, yeah.
And so long as they're being looked after and they're getting love and they're getting care and attention, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
It's my ponies, quite often I'm allowed to graze the land around me, but I don't let them run free on that land because there's no fences, so they're tethered.
Yes.
And they're only tethered for an hour, and I'm with them.
Yeah.
The whole time that they're on the tether, so they can't get into trouble, but they are on a tether.
Yeah.
And in the UK, people would say,
Yes. Yeah.
that's not acceptable. But
there's a difference between knowing what you're doing and thinking what you have seen.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's, quite often there's a lot behind the scenes that people don't see, and they're very quick to sort of pick holes in it, and that's where I think the Brits and other Americans and what have you have problems when they come into a Portuguese village or a neighbourhood and start complaining about it, and then they start getting trouble.
Yeah.
It's one thing to complain about something if there's welfare issues, if you can blatantly see there's welfare issues. But I mean, where I used to live, the neighbours, they would raise a pig and slaughter it for bacon and pork each year.
Yeah.
And I didn't like hearing it scream, but it was over and done with quickly.
Yeah.
And it's part of their life. That's how they do things.
Of their culture.
They raise their own meat and they slaughtered them at home.
Yeah.
I might not like that. I'm pretty much 100% vegetarian now.
Yeah.
Because I can't physically kill my animals. And I couldn't have somebody come in and do it either. I just wouldn't be able to eat it.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't do it, but that, you know, I'm not going to stop someone else from doing it.
Mhm. No.
It's just you've got to accept you're in a different culture. And personally, I like the fact that it's like, I feel like I was born in the wrong century.
Right.
I've always felt I was born in the wrong century. I should have been born like 100, 200 years ago. Maybe I was.
Pre-industrial revolution.
Maybe I've come back again. Maybe that's why it all feels so familiar. But I just prefer, you know, simplistic living. I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I work harder now than I ever worked when I was working a job. But it's different. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. Because you're doing it, the way I see it is I'm doing it for myself, and I'm making the choice to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, it sits well and it sits right.
And the thing is, if I get tired, I don't have to continue. I can stop. I can go and do something else. Or if I get bored with what I'm doing, or, you know, I can't continue with it for some reason, I can go and do something else. Whereas if you're working for someone else, it's like,
yeah,
you know, you've got to keep going, keep going. If you take a break, oh my God,
you've got to justify why you're taking a break. You want to go to the toilet? What do you mean? You have to put a code in. You have to put a code in your phone to say why you're taking a break. So this one's to go for a pee. This one's to help a colleague.
So it's like, you know, and I mean, as I say, I've got mental health issues, so there are days when I can't do anything other than just take care of the animals. I can't do any work on anything. And if I was still having to work a 9-to-5 job, or in my case a 8-to-8 job, then I wouldn't be able to cope with that anymore. I'd be in breakdown situation again. So working here and living here and working when I want to work is a lot. Okay, I don't earn as much money, you know, and I have to be more careful with what I do spend it on. But I'd rather that than the stress of having to pay rent or having to pay a mortgage and having to pay bills. If I can't afford my internet on my phone 1 month, it doesn't matter. You
just do without.
I just do without for a little while.
Yeah.
You know, I can, or if I can't afford to put petrol in the car, I can walk to the village. The village is only 3 miles. So I can walk to the village and back. There's shops there. There's a market there.
We'll put everything to a close.
That's all right.
If you're happy for us to have a quick look round, then just sort of to get an idea. I have been watching your videos where you were building your polytunnel.
Yeah, which is looking a bit sorry for itself at the moment because of the storm we had. But when I get paid from this last lot of work I've done, I'll put some more plastic on it.
Yeah. So, yep. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And just to let you all know that all of these Out and About Pips casts are now available as a podcast wherever you download your podcast from. But you won't be able to see the tour. So if you're listening on a podcast, then why not pop over to YouTube and watch our chat and see the tour. Thank you very much, Mandy.
It's all right, thank you.
It's lovely. We'll have a little wander around. Thank you. Whatever you want to show, whatever you don't want to show, you can just say what's what. Yeah. You're not getting too close.
Oh wow, yeah, they're beautiful, aren't they? Oh, they are. Haven't seen
my silkies.
Wow. The little baby ones. Did you?
Yeah, I've got 2 little baby ones.
Have these? What do they call it? Have these bred those little babies by themselves?
Yeah.
They're really lovely.
Yeah, I had my white female Daisy. She hatched a chicken beginning of the year, which has now gone to. That was a female, and she's now living with Dom and Missy over at the Wildlands.
Oh right, okay.
And so I'm just waiting for her to go broody again because I've got some eggs to put under her. But Evie there, the black one, she hatched out the 2 little chicks. So the white one is Duke's baby, and the black one is probably one of my ginger cockerels.
Yeah. I haven't seen silkies in Portugal actually.
They are very hard to get hold of, and they are rather expensive.
Oh, are they? Because they're very much a UK, well, I don't know if they're a UK breed, but you see quite a lot of them in the UK, don't you? But here,
I mean, the proper silkies with the 5 toes and the black or blue earlobes are usually around 25 to 30 euros a bird.
Right. So for a proper purebred one. Yeah. So these are your egg layers. So are these silkies are more
because the silkies go broody very, very quickly.
Yeah.
You don't tend to get that many eggs out of them before they go broody.
Okay.
So, and they are potentially an income on that scale, is that that I'll breed them and then be able to sell like pairs and trios and stuff.
Brilliant.
Give me a little bit of extra income.
Right. So more of a pet. Well, maybe. Yeah.
It's just a case of praying that you get more girls than boys, because I've got more boys than girls.
Okay. But people would take the boys from you, as in from a breeding perspective anyway.
Yeah. You can usually sell the boys.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not at the moment because I want to decide which ones I'm keeping.
Yeah.
And I need to get to know them a bit better first, because they're not very old. They're only 6 months old.
Yeah.
So I'll wait a little bit longer before I decide which boys stay and which boys go.
Yeah.
But ideally, I'd like to have 1 white, 1 gold, and 1 black boy.
Perfect. Yeah.
So that I can then split them into their breeding groups.
Yeah.
So that I can get pure colours.
Yeah.
Rather than mixtures.
It's a lovely view, mind, isn't it? Look at that from down here as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're on a little bit of a hillside though, aren't you?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, quite a lot of a hill.
The good thing about this land though is it is terraced, whereas the land before wasn't. So I've got the goats in here.
Oh yes.
And they've made a right mess at the moment. This is Elvis.
Elvis.
And then this one is Vincent Van Gogh, because he's got half an ear missing.
Oh right.
And then the little girl is Maya. Yes. And then I've got 2 geese, which I haven't named yet, because I'm not sure if they're male or female.
And the geese are, well, they're layers.
They will do, yeah. I think I've got a boy and a girl, but I'm not 100% sure yet. They're not that old, so.
Okay. But for protection, they'll let you know if anything comes in, won't they?
Yeah, they're more for protection.
I was going to say.
Sort of, they'll let you know if anything comes on the farm. So if it's hunting season and the dogs come anywhere near the farm, they'll soon let me know. So there's 2 of my ponies.
Ah, yes.
So we're going to now do a runner. So that one's Maria. She's my little baby. Well, I say she's a baby. She's 7 years old, but she's the smallest one.
Yeah.
And then the other coloured one is Jasper. He's only 2. And then the black one is Beauty, and she's 10. Are you going to follow her? Try and eat the camera or the microphone. So this goes down into a point over there, but if we go down this way I can show you the other terraces. Totally nice rocks on it, which the goats enjoy jumping all over.
Yeah, they do like to jump, don't they, goats? This is a nice space for them though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So would they free range around this area?
I haven't let them out today because they'll drive you nuts. They will literally climb all over you.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're normally out and they follow me around.
Do they? Wow. Oh yeah, I think I've seen that on video actually.
Yeah.
I think you've showed that on video.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? No, you've said it. Yeah.
Yeah, they do tend to follow me around, and wherever I'm working they'll be sort of hanging around that area.
Yeah. I'm just thinking to myself, I wish Max would be as obedient as your goats. That wouldn't happen, he'd be away.
I must admit they are pretty good actually for goats.
Yeah.
I mean, they do sort of wander off onto the other terraces.
Yeah.
That I don't own, but
Right.
they do come back when you call them.
Yeah.
So this is my bottom terrace.
Yeah.
And it will eventually be, I'll eventually have a barn here.
Yeah.
Because I am hoping, well, I did start I don't know if you saw the video I did on the well. I did start digging a well, but I've now got to the stage where I've hit rock. I've hit rock bottom.
Okay. Yeah, literally.
And I can't go any further, but I had somebody out with a digger, and he has told me it would be better to dig further where the trees are.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, when I've got the money to have him in, I'm gonna get those trees chopped down and make sure that he can get the mini digger through. And then he's gonna dig there because he reckons that, because on the map I've got a line where the water, because it's a water mine, so it's an underground like, river or stream, and it's got the line, and then it's got where the well used to be, and he said it would be easier to just dig where the well used to be. I didn't want to start digging there because it's got trees and roots, and I thought it's going to be a pain to try and dig that out. But no, he said he can do it in a few hours, and he'll come out and he'll just dig it all out. All I've got to do is chop the trees down and make a route through.
So how far? He's got to dig down quite deep, but he could do it in a couple of hours?
He reckons that it will, from on the map, it reckons it's 4 metres.
Okay, right.
To the water. Okay. It's got the 4M on the...
Oh, right, okay.
So it usually, all of the wells are on the map that I've got, it shows where all the wells are, and it shows how deep they are.
Wow,
and the further up, obviously, the deeper they are.
Yeah.
But he reckons that it should only be like the 4 metres before we hit water.
Yeah.
So he reckons that he should be able to dig that out.
Brilliant.
I don't want it very big, so
just need to get to the water.
I just need to get to the water, so I can put a pump in it.
Yeah, brilliant.
So hopefully, so if that goes ahead and I do actually have water in there, then I'll build the barn here, and then I'll build the house on this terrace, so that we're near the water, so I don't have to keep moving it about.
Really nice.
And then those terraces will become hayfields next year, so I can get the guy with the tractor in to just rake it all up and get rid of the moss and the bramble roots and everything, and then we can sow it with hay.
It sounds amazing. It sounds really nice. It's a lovely spot down here.
Yeah, I mean, barn will be here, and then this will be garden. So it'll be where I grow most. It's
reasonably flat as well, isn't it? It's nice. It is the perfect place, I would think. It's where I would choose. I would think.
This is where they used to grow, because it's still got the netting, the fabric down.
Oh, I can see. Yeah.
From where they had a polytunnel on it.
Gotcha. Well, I think a polytunnel would be baking here, wouldn't it? Very nice.
I need to grow some shade.
That's it.
I've got some grapevines in there, so the plan is to try and grow them over a trellis, so that during the summer they provide shade for the plants that are growing. And then just have some shade net up over this side.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to think of that. You have to think of water, you have to think of shade, don't you?
In the UK you'd say, they could be in full sun, it's not a problem, but here they can't, because the sun is so hot. I mean, when you get into 40, 45 degrees,
we will be.
It just crisps them all, so they need to be shaded.
They do. I mean, we're building like what we're calling a food forest, but really it's a forest of trees that we can then grow plants underneath.
That's it.
But that's going to take ages. That's going to take years before we get a forest of trees. But we're lucky, because the soil underneath, which we'll show on our next video, the soil underneath is already really, really good.
That's what
Once you dig down just a little bit, and the soil is beautiful, so you've got a really good starting point.
This soil on this terrace is absolutely excellent. I did dig a test hole. I filled it back in now, but I did a test hole and then checked the clay content. And actually, in 4 places along here, and there is less clay in this plot. Everywhere else has got loads of it. But this plot, because it was worked.
That's it. There's been all sorts put in.
Best soil in it, so this will be the garden terrace. So
it's absolutely
one day, you'll
that's
see a really nice.
Yeah, can we come back then?
Yeah.
We'll come back then. Brilliant. That'll be lovely.
And then this is my other terrace. I'm going to be building a in this little section here.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to have a yoga deck,
Oh yeah.
which
Just done this section,
just in this section,
yeah,
this tree,
it's perfect.
like
Yeah.
a tree house type deck.
Yeah, I can see it happening. Yeah, definitely.
Two poles. So there'll be like a yoga deck in there because I need to have it up high so the dogs can't get there
Oh,
and drive me
yeah,
nuts.
yeah.
What I'm trying to do. Because at the moment I try and do it and it's like, oh my god,
They jump all over
they
you.
jump all over me.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, and then what I'm planning on doing is in the July and August when it's really hot, is I'll just have a hammock up here
Yeah.
and I'll sleep down here because I've got
Nice.
I've got a mosquito net that goes over my hammock. So. So this is what I chopped down where I started digging the well,
Oh right, yeah.
and I've got plans for this.
I would have as well. It's really good.
It's going to be woven into a fence
Yeah, yeah.
and then used as wattle and daub for
Yeah.
the house.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So
Perfect.
once you've woven it into a fence and then you've put cob over the top of it, it actually goes quite hard.
Really hard. Yeah.
So yes, I've got big plans for that pile.
Yeah. It's good. Natural resources. I love that.
Yeah. This terrace will be where the main paddocks are for the ponies.
Okay.
So they'll roam most of the year, but when I'm growing the hay, obviously I don't want them going up that end.
Up on the hay. Yeah.
So that's when they'll be in paddocks down here.
Yeah. Which is right next to where you're.
Which is right next to where I'm going to be
Yeah,
living. So
that's right.
I'm either going to have the house up that end or I'm going to have it up this end. I haven't made
Yeah.
up my mind yet, but so the goats and the ponies will be in paddocks down here with field shelters. And if I can't find water, then my backup plan is to build the barn over there and have a big ass tank
Yeah. Definitely.
to take the rainwater off of it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've worked out how many litres I'll roughly need,
Okay.
gauging by what I've been using.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think I can get a big enough tank there to collect all the rainwater off,
Yeah.
and then what I'll do is in the winter I'll just top up the tanks that I'll have at various points along here
Yeah. Yeah.
and then get that brimmed. I want to get a bigger tank as possible in it, but I
Yeah.
should be able to get about 60,000 litres.
Wow.
This well that I started digging is gonna, because I've hit rock now, and
Yeah.
he's advised not to dig any deeper here.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna line this and build it up a bit.
Wow.
I'm gonna line it and build it up a bit, and then put a roof over the top of it,
Okay.
and then that will be an extra water tank.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the water's going to flow into here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Off of there.
Yeah, there is a line. It's all falling in, but on the map there is a water line that goes along here. So
Right.
warm water comes off of there. It's supposed to go round there and go down into what was the well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
as I say, it's all fallen in, and because it was never a proper, it was just like this. It was just a hole in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
So because it wasn't concreted or anything, because
Yeah.
it was done so many years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Before the days of concrete.
Before, yeah. I mean, I suppose they didn't feel the need to put rock in it.
Probably because there was a lot more water there anyway, and it would just
Yeah.
fill from the bottom anyway.
That's it.
You know, now we don't really have that. I often wonder, you know, we watch a YouTube channel and the lady has a borehole, but really at the bottom of that borehole may have been 10, 15 years ago, may have been brilliant, but you don't know what's down there, do you?
No.
Now that could run out at any point, and I think that
That's the trouble.
water security is is a difficult
Yeah.
one to manage.
That's why I need
Yeah.
to do
Different.
the tanks
Yeah.
and catch the rainwater in the winter, because even if you've got a well,
Yeah.
I mean, I know lots of people in Penamacore area who've
Yeah.
got wells and got
Yeah.
water all the year round,
Okay.
except last year when it was the heat wave,
Okay.
and then they had no water.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
You
Because
know, so-
Penamacore is quite a lot wetter. We
Yeah.
think from the few people that we know there, it seems a lot of a much wetter place.
Yeah, well,
So
when we
to-
had this recent storms and that, they was getting, every day my friends were posting how much rain they've got, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting there going, I
Yeah,
haven't got any.
yeah.
I had one
Yeah.
downpour for like an hour.
Yeah,
I only got this much water in the bottom
Yeah.
of my tank. I barely got 100 litres.
yeah. So, and then you have a polytunnel.
I do, what's left of it.
This is the thing with the heat as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, this time it was, the cat climbed up
Oh,
on the
was
top
it?
and put
Right.
some holes in it,
Okay.
and then we had the wind, because we
Yeah.
had the storm come through. which didn't produce any rain, but it did produce gale force winds, and that ripped everything apart. So
It's lovely. You got some good stuff going on. Peppers. I think we have peppers. Oh, tomato.
Tomatoes, amaranth. There are some peppers. There's some cabbage.
Which is amaranth?
These ones.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that's your peppers. They're quite similar, aren't
Yeah.
they? Peppers and
Yeah.
amaranth. Ah, interesting.
And I've got some cabbages, some onions. I've got some turnips.
Yeah.
And then I've got peas and courgettes and pumpkins and all sorts.
You have. You've got all sorts going in there, haven't you? I like the way you just mixed and matched everything really in there,
Yeah,
haven't
it's
you?
just basically whenever I've got a gap, I stick a plant.
Yeah, just stick a plant in and they all just
Because
live together.
The less earth you've got, the less you've got a chance of. The more enclosed it is,
Oh,
the
yeah.
more water it retains.
I like that idea.
So
The less, and also the shading situation again, isn't it? You're shading the smaller plants underneath.
yeah, see these ones.
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
You've got big leaves, so
Yeah.
underneath you can plant smaller plants.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
exactly.
when you come to harvest those, the other ones will be able to take over.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that idea.
And it's sort of running along the back and the front.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really nice. That's really nice. I like that. It looks nice. I was going to say it looks nicely thought out, but it's more a case if you've just popped things in.
Basically,
Yeah, but it looks lovely,
Yeah,
and I think it looks better than kind of rows and rows of cabbages, for
I
example.
can't handle those.
Yeah, this looks so much
I
nicer.
like things to look natural.
Yeah, it does. It looks
'Cause if
really
you were-
natural.
If you were in the woodland, like in woodland situations, you will have random plants,
Yeah, that's
flowers
right.
and all sorts growing everywhere.
And growing
So,
better
yeah.
for that as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Looks lovely.
And
I
obviously
like
they
that.
benefit each other, so some of the plants
Yeah.
will bring up nutrients to the top where the other plants need them.
Yeah, right. So mix and match.
I did lose a few lettuces with the heavy rain but they're coming up again.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
they-
only the outer leaves. I'll just take the outer leaves off.
Again,
These
it's
are
like-
basically cut and come again.
Yeah.
I just leave them in there and I just take off the outer leaves.
But again, also nature will try and find a way, won't it?
Yeah.
Nature will.
Yeah. And I've got
You got all sorts
more
going on in
peppers
this
at the
one.
back there,
Yeah.
the onions. I've got a blueberry plant.
Blueberry
I've
as
got
well.
some-
If you had to put is the blueberry just straight in the ground?
No, it's in a pot at the
I was
moment.
going to say, 'cause they need quite
Yeah.
acidic soils, don't they?
Yeah, I'm going to get a bigger pot for it
Yeah.
and put it into a bigger pot, but it will stay in a pot. I'm not going to put it into the ground.
Yeah. Because they're quite specific about what they require, aren't they? Yeah. That's lovely. Again, mix and match.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's really
I've
nice.
got some more
It's-
tomatoes to go in.
Lovely. It's just more enjoyable, I think, looking at it like that than rows and rows
Plus
of...
it's like, you know,
I do like rows of cabbages, don't get me wrong. I think they look very artistic. However, this looks more
the
natural
thing is
and...
as well is pests.
Yeah.
If you've
yeah.
got a whole row, then the pests will go from one to the other to the other to the other to the other.
Yeah, that's a
All the way
really-
down it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got them all over the place and that some are hidden under other things, you get to keep more of them.
Oh, I really like that. I never even thought of that side of it. Oh, brilliant idea, yeah.
Yeah, because the pests will sort of go,
Yeah.
or they'll
the-
come near it and think, no, I don't want to go there because I don't like the smell of this plant or that plant.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
these are loofahs,
Oh, yeah, loofahs.
and they have
Yeah.
not.
What do you do with a loofah, apart from using it as a loofah?
Well,
Is that it?
the
Yeah?
idea was to cut them up and use them as sponges for washing up,
Sponges,
so
yeah.
I don't have to buy sponges.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're not an edible plant in any way, though, are
No.
they? I don't know much about
No.
them. No, okay.
But,
Okay. That's really cool.
I've
So
got
diversifying.
patty pan squash here, and then those are cucumbers. And I've got a peach tree.
Peach, lovely. yeah.
That's a peach plum tree,
Plum.
but it's been decimated by the ants.
Yeah, ants are a thing here, aren't they? Which we never anticipated
Last
at
year
all.
I didn't have any problems with ants.
Yeah,
This year they're everywhere.
everywhere.
I think it's purely because I'm not free ranging the birds this year.
Yeah,
Because of the
well,
dog.
absolutely, yeah, because
the
they'll.
dog will have them.
Yeah,
And
But that's it,
I don't
yeah.
want to keep her locked up all day long
No,
so
no.
that I can let the birds out. If I could let
No.
the birds out for a few hours and then get them back in, it would be different, but I can't.
and they would take your ants. Would they take your ants before they took your
Yeah.
corns, for example?
Well, I'd have to protect them.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
have to put cloches over the top.
yeah,
But
yeah. But other than that,
they would eat the
they would get the ants.
they would eat the ants.
Brilliant. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Thank you very much.
My little farm.
It's really nice.